Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kershaw Launch 11 automatic knife. It's been a while since I've had a Kershaw on the channel, and I think maybe I've reviewed one Kershaw Auto. I honestly can't remember. In any case, this is pretty cool. This was sent to me by Tier 1 Gear and EDC. He has a YouTube channel and an Instagram, so make sure you go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe, and check him out on Instagram. Absolutely. Thanks so much for saying that along. And thank you to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some cool stickers and some other exclusive benefits, there is, of course, a link down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. All right. Let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. This is not a big knife at all. Overall length of the Kershaw Launch 11 coming in at 6 1/4 inches overall. Blade length, I'm going to call that less than 3 inches. If you measure it way down here, they might say it's 3 inches. It just depends on where it's being measured. So be cognizant of that. This is an automatic knife, which means it's going to be illegal in a lot of places, but it is under 3 inches, which means there are places where you might be able to carry this. I mean, in the United States. If you're outside the United States, I have no idea. Yeah, it's something that you should be careful about. You should consider before you order this. Cutting edge is 2.75 inches overall. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue is coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the smallest knife that I usually carry, the Spyderco Para 3. The Spyderco Para 3 is coming in at 7 1/4 inches overall. But I think it's worth pointing out the amount of cutting edge that you get between the two. You actually get more on the Launch 11, right? Because of how the design elements on the Para 3. How's the action on this guy? This is a USA-made automatic knife, and the action is quite snappy. I will be leaving links for this knife as well as the other Kershaw Launch Series knives down below, and I'll also include Kershaw knives in general because they're a great option. If you're looking for a quality knife that's made in the United States, Kershaw has they're very competitively priced. And then they've also got some options that are less expensive that are not made in the United States. So you can check them out. So I've always got a lot of people say, like, why would you choose because on this channel, I often will say things like, I think ProTech makes the best side opening automatic knives in the world. And then I generally have at least one person say, well, why would you spend that much money on a ProTech when you can get a Kershaw automatic knife made in the USA for less money? You know, in terms of utility and function, I would say, you know, they're both great. It's the extra little polishes and finishes for people who really care about the extra that goes into, like, little tiny things that you come to pick up on after you've handled lots and lots of knives. I have handled hundreds and hundreds of different styles of knives, ranging from price anywhere from, you know, $5 up to about $5,000. And I pick up on little teeny tiny things. For example, there's a little bit of excess grittiness in the firing, both the button and the action, which is not a big deal. As you can see there, it does deploy, right? And it's going to deploy as long as that button is held down. And then little teeny tiny things like maybe not necessarily the fitment of things, but just like the overall construction and maybe the hardware that they're using is just a little bit more generic and less polished in some places. Now, none of these things have anything to do with utility. And if you're only counting dollar for dollar the amount of use that you're going to be able to get out of the knife, considering that it is an automatic knife made in the USA, then perhaps Kershaw knives or the automatic ones are for you. But for people who, you know, really look into the fine details and really consider every last little part and how much effort went into making sure that those things maybe look a little bit nicer or feel a little bit nicer. Sometimes those things are present in ProTech knives and not present on Kershaw knives. But let me stress this. This is a beautifully well-made knife for the money. I don't think many people are going to argue that a lot of Kershaw's USA-made line is just really incredible for what they charge for it. But that was just to clarify, you know, for people wondering my thoughts about these versus ProTechs. Yeah, that's about it. The action on this is great, though. A little bit of, you can hear it right here. I'll let you listen. little bit of grittiness there in that button, and that's going to be the case. You might be able to remedy that with a little bit of oil, but you got to be careful about that because you don't really want to get oil in the mechanism that locks the knife out. I don't know that you're really going to have to worry about that in this situation, and my guess is that will smooth up over time. For the most part, as you pull the knife from your pocket and push the button, it's simply going to deploy, and you're just going to feel a little bit of, a little bit of grittiness in that mechanism there. But it's very good, right? Solid B- on the action as far as other automatic knives go. No. Let's give it a B. I'll give it a B. Solid B. Okay. Let's go ahead and do carry profile here. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. At its thickest point, it's probably just shy of where the Para 3 is. Let's do length and height up against two knives that everybody loves that are a bit awkward in the pocket, the PM2 and Para 3. Overall length, definitely shorter than both and nowhere near as tall. So yeah, this is made out of aluminum, and I'll let you guys take a look at the inside. By the way, you can pick up my flashlight down in the description next to where I put the tools. This is 6061 T6 aluminum all the way through. That's going to be a lightweight material. And then the blade is not very thick. This is a CPM 154 blade that is not very long, not very thick. So there's not going to be a lot of mass there. So thickness on this blade, it's thicker than I thought, 120 thousandths. It's still not very thick. Weight on this guy, I'm going to guess this weighs about 2.5 ounces. Let's go ahead and check it here. Just under 2.25. Okay. So yeah, not heavy. This is an easy knife to carry, no matter how you look at it. It's under 3 ounces. I've always said, the whole ratio thing, everybody's got a different rule on that. For me, anything under 3 ounces is ultra lightweight. It's trivial. 1 ounce, 2.9 ounces, I don't care. The profile matters to me. This is a small, easy to carry profile. You wear lightweight pant material, you wear athletic shorts, right? Or you wear jeans, or you wear work. It doesn't really matter. This is going to be an easy knife to carry, absolutely. For those of you who like to jog with a folding knife, which is not recommended, this would be a great knife for jogging. Anyways, let's see here. Let's go ahead and do the hardware check. We'll get out my tools here, which again, you can find down in the description. Very inexpensive, very recommendable. Right next to where I have the flashlight. I think it's about, I moved it up. It's like the middle of the road there. The pivot is most likely going to be T8. Yep, that's the case. And then your screws down here, I'm not going to check them because I know that they're T6. They're T6. You guys know my thing about T6. I don't like it. I wish everything was T8 or bigger, but we can't always get what we want. Just be careful when you're taking this apart because smaller screws strip a little bit easier. Did we cover everything there? I think that we did. I hope I didn't leave anything out there. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy here. So this looks really nice. This is that Type 3 hard coat anodized aluminum, so it's got a little bit of a chalky feeling on the top. The hard coat anodizing over time is something that will wear away, but it's very durable. I've shown you guys multiple Pro-Techs on this channel and other knives, that use the same aluminum and hard coat anodizing, and it holds up pretty well. The harder you use it, obviously, the bigger the battle scars, but yeah, I really don't have a problem with this, and I think it looks nice. That pivot collar is titanium. I had a double take when I was reading about it online. I always assume that those are aluminum pivot collars, but no, that's a titanium anodized pivot collar. That's nice. It doesn't need to be titanium, but it's neat that it is. And while brown and black is not a color combination that I would wear personally out in public, for whatever reason, it translates really well to a pocket knife. I like how it looks, honestly. And truthfully, guys, this is one of the first Kershaw launch knives that I've actually thought, oh, that looks good. Some of the early ones I thought looked pretty good. And then they had a few I was like, eh. And then they came out with a little tiny one that I thought was cool. And then some of the other ones, were so weird and kind of just cheapy, tactical, is what it looked like to me. They're all well made. But this was the first one where I thought, that's pretty good looking. I like that. This is a blade shape that Kershaw really likes to use. You see it in the bare knuckle and the Natrix and things like that. It's just a different version of it. It says Kershaw Auto on the front, and then on the back it says 7550 Kai USA CPM 154. That's not bad for Kershaw. Kershaw likes to put a big paragraph on a lot of stuff, and I don't really mind that. That symbol right there, I'm coming to find out, is the symbol for I guess, an in-house design, which it seems like Kai USA is doing a lot more of. Like, you see it a lot more in ZT nowadays, and we're seeing it a little bit in Kershaw. So that's pretty cool. This is a good design. I'm going to talk about that, but yeah. Now, I don't think this comes in too many different configurations like other launch designs. You might have a couple of different color options, but and maybe perhaps some different blade options. You can check it out down below. I'll make sure the link includes a search so it brings up everything that's available. But the black wash looks okay. This isn't always my first choice, but I will go for it if it contrasts well with the frame and the in this case the pivot color or any other colors there. Honestly, this looks good. I like how this looks. The blade shape is great. It's got a flat that carries out about 80% or so, maybe 75% the length of the blade, and it comes down to a fairly, an okay edge, just typical, not too thick, not overly thin, right? But a lot of times in a knife like this, the thinner the better, but this is excellent for EDC. There's nothing in the cutting path. It's got some nice cutting belly. It's got a tip that's not too dainty. I still wouldn't be driving this into wood and prying or anything like that, but you shouldn't be doing that with any knife. This is just an excellent EDC blade shape, and it's why we see this style of blade on so many Kershaw knives. Moving back down to the handle here, we have no sharp edges anywhere. This is all great. Ergonomically, holding it the way that I'm supposed to, it's kind of splitting the difference on my pinky. With smaller knives, I will not consistently EDC a smaller knife unless I can get all 4 fingers on it. That's a personal preference with me. It may not be, your reasoning, but that is the case with me. But there is a surprising amount of handle room on this thing, and that's welcome. Truthfully, for me, a lot of times with Kershaw knives, we see a lot of like tactical, unnecessary lines. It's okay. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as some of the other Kershaw knives that I've seen. But truthfully, to me, this would be much more attractive if this was all just plain. I like simplicity. That's my aesthetic thing. And it's something that I appreciate a lot. In fact, I'll give you an example of a ProTech knife that does exactly that, I really, really enjoy. This is the ProTech Malibu. Much more expensive knife, but the simplicity of it, that does it for me. Now, some people are going to like this a lot more, and that's perfectly okay. It just depends. It's not something that's going to take away from, what you can do with this knife as far as a folding knife, but it's just something that I, would have appreciated more. There's a big open hole in there. Some people like that, some people don't. It's one of those things where I'd prefer it wasn't there, but I don't really care all that much. There is a position for left-handed carry. It's going to be tip up only, which is, in my opinion, the only way you should carry a knife, but that's, again, your preference. Lefties, you're still going to have to deal with a right-handed button because it's only on one side. So if you're going to carry it like this, you're going to have to use your, or wait, let me think. Yeah, you're going to have to use your index finger to do that. Now this is, yeah, it's set up for, sometimes I get confused looking through the camera. It's set up for a right-handed tip-up carry, but yeah, you can switch that if you want to. This is a sort of seam construction. They've done a nice job giving the impression of a backspacer, just giving more detail to an otherwise, like when ProTech does it, get out another ProTech knife, it's just a seam. It looks boring. When they do it like this, it's just a seam that meets up, right? I like the contrast of a backspacer or the standoffs, right? But for whatever reason, automatic knives is probably a way to save money. They just come to a seam, and Kershaw did a nice job of just adding some extra detail right there. I guess that little area down there, you could attach a lanyard, but it might run into the blade. It doesn't really matter. I don't like lanyards, and there's only like 7 or 8 people who still use lanyards anyway, but I'm kidding. Obviously, there are more people who use lanyards. If you like lanyards, maybe you've got an option. For the rest of us who don't care, it's not there. The pocket clip carries fairly, not too shallow, not too deep, and it does a good job. It's easy to get over it's very uninspired. It's just a plain Kershaw clip, and I always like clips that carry well and carry fairly deep and also go with the knife. But again, they probably were trying to make sure that they could get this into the price range that is typical for these types of knives, and saving a little bit of money on the pocket clip is one way to do that. The nice thing is that it is totally functional. It's not a problem. It is just a regular stamped out steel clip, so at some point it might catch and bend or break, right? If it does, Kershaw's got a pretty good warranty as far as I know, so they'll probably be able to get you another clip. But most of the time it's just going to bend, so you'll be able to get a T6 bit and just take that off and bend it, and you should be just fine. The other thing that's nice about this is it's a captive pivot. That means that when you're adjusting this or taking it apart, that's going to stay in place, which is pretty typical of Kershaw knives, so that's nice. This does have it's not an external stop. It's a regular stop pin, right? There's no shouldering, but it's fine. Lockup on this guy, solid, absolutely. Easy to disengage, and the centering is spot on. And there's no weird play or anything like that. It's solid. This is a solid knife. I will say that all of these Kershaw autos don't feel quite as powerful as the ProTech automatic knives. It's not really that big of a deal. All that matters is that there's enough, tension in there to get the blade to deploy. And what I look for is that if I'm holding the button down, it's still coming all the way out. It's not quite, actually that time it didn't quite do it. But it's close. And you probably could remedy that by loosening this up just a little bit. Because honestly, even my ProTech knives, if I tighten them down all the way, they don't deploy. But the spring power in this is not quite as much as the ProTech knives. It doesn't really matter that much unless it's just, if you get this thing dirty and grimy, extra spring power is welcome because it'll make sure that it deploys completely, or it'll do a better job of deploying completely if it is caked up for whatever reason, right? So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. The truth is that this is the first Kershaw launch knife that I've really been attracted to in a long time. This is CPM 154, which this and 154CM are my two favorite EDC knife steels available, even including all the new crazy super steels, right? I understand this isn't an ultra premium steel and it's been around forever, but this is just the steel that I prefer. It holds an edge for a decent amount of time. You can get a very fine edge on it, fine grain structure, which is why when I lump 154CM in with CPM 154, for anybody who doesn't know, the powder process will really benefit in a steel that has a lot of carbide formation, right? And then that powder process will make sure that the carbide formation is evenly distributed in the edge. The 154CM is not a heavy carbide composition, so the powder process doesn't add that much benefit. And according to ProTech, who I keep bringing up in this video, it only adds a potential 5% increase in toughness, which is not something you're really going to notice that much in EDC. So I don't really care if it's 154CM or CPM 154. I think it's appropriate on this blade, and it's going to be nice and easy to share. It's just a great seal all the way around, so I'm really happy with that. I love that this knife is made in the United States. I love that people can get their hands on a quality auto for, in this case, $100, which, yeah. That's a great price for this knife. There's no reason to complain about that. I would have no problem spending $100 on this knife, considering the quality and how that's, all the launch series knives have roughly the same level of quality and use the same types of materials. And if you find one that you like, you're probably gonna, aesthetically, then you're probably gonna enjoy it, right? I've handled, let's see, this is the third Kershaw launch knife that I've ever handled, and they've all felt about the same. They've all got the same level of quality, and they've all had really good prices on them. And I just, definitely little things that I can nitpick. I wish the handle was a little bit longer, just for me. I wish this was plain. It didn't have the lines and things everywhere. Honestly, I probably would have preferred, for contrast, a tumbled finish blade. Maybe they've got that, maybe they don't. But again, that's just a little aesthetic thing. The pocket clip is very boring, but okay, it's not really that big of a deal. And of course, it's got T6 screws. I wish those were T8. And, there's a little bit of grittiness in the action, a little bit of grittiness, compared to some of the other knives I've handled, but it's totally appropriate for this price range, right? And, I'm worried that if I were to loosen up that pivot, it might make the blade come off centered, right? Or perhaps add a little bit of blade play to get that extra smoothness in the action to make sure that it always is coming all the way out, right? If I do this right there and let it go, see, that's probably going to be, something that might be the case with yours or might not. And again, that's such a little nitpick, right? Let me emphasize this, for the money, this is great. From this position, pushing the button and deploying it, as long as the pivot's not caked up, there's plenty of power there to get it to deploy. This is a very recommendable knife. Absolutely. Especially for people who are on a budget, but still want to buy a US made knife. Yeah. Very, very recommendable. This is going to go in my most recommended knives playlist. I did very much enjoy this knife. I think it's an excellent value. So check out this knife, the Launch Series, and Kershaw knives in general down in the description if you'd like to see what's currently available. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this metal complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.